They thought they were targeting a helpless cargo ship, but this time it was a US Navy destroyer, and the Houthis made a serious mistake. In early April 2025, after yet another wave of Houthi drone attacks in the Red Sea, the US Navy decided it was done playing defense. That day, a swarm of incoming drones lit up radar screens like fireworks on the 4th of July. The Houthis had launched another attack, just one in a growing series of increasingly aggressive strikes. But this time, they aimed at the wrong target. The ship they locked onto wasn't some defenseless freighter. It was a US destroyer, outfitted with the kind of tech that doesn't just defend, it fights back. Within seconds, alarms blared, defense systems activated, and the incoming drones were reduced to scrap metal before they ever got close. And that was just the beginning. What followed would send shockwaves through the region. So, what happens when a rebel group mistakenly attacks a US Navy warship? The Red Sea isn't just a trade route anymore, it's a battlefield. Since late 2023, Houthi rebels in Yemen have launched wave after wave of drone and missile attacks on ships passing through the area. They claim it's in support of Palestine, but their targets have included everything from commercial vessels to US Navy destroyers. In their eyes, anyone linked to the West is fair game. But their attacks are sloppy, reckless, and increasingly dangerous, and the US Navy has been in the thick of it. Let's talk numbers. Over 40 confirmed attacks on vessels in just a few months. Dozens of one-way attack drones, anti-ship cruise missiles, and even ballistic missiles, yes, actual ballistic missiles, have been launched at maritime targets. Many were intercepted mid-air, others hit civilian ships. Several tankers had to be abandoned or rerouted. Billions of dollars in cargo is now detouring around Africa, adding weeks to global shipping timelines. But not every ship ran. Some stood their ground. Ships like the USS Carney, USS Gravely, and USS Laboon have been on the front lines, protecting commercial vessels under Operation Prosperity Guardian, and they've been busy. The USS Carney alone has shot down more than 40 drones and missiles in multiple engagements. And these aren't warning shots. These are full-scale, high-tech combat intercepts using the Aegis Combat System, SM-2 and SM-6 missiles, and the Phalanx CIWS. Those fast-spinning Gatling guns that rip drones out of the sky at 4,500 rounds per minute. But one attack stood out. A swarm of Houthi drones launched from western Yemen came buzzing over the water. It looked like another strike on a vulnerable tanker. But the radar blip they were chasing wasn't carrying oil. It was an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. Within moments, the destroyer's radar picked up the threats from miles away. Orders were shouted. The deck came to life. One by one, missiles and drones exploded mid-air in rapid succession. The Houthis had made a fatal mistake. You don't sneak up on a ship like this. The Aegis system scans the horizon non-stop. Air, sea, even underwater. It doesn't blink. The moment a threat is tagged as hostile, it calculates the perfect intercept solution in milliseconds. Add SM-6 missiles capable of swatting threats out of the sky at Mach 3.5, and CIWS guns that turn drones into confetti, and you've got a floating fortress. Whatever their intentions were, one thing is clear. They've turned a global shipping lane into a live fire zone. And this time, they picked the wrong fight. It all happened fast. Too fast for the Houthis to realize they had just kicked the wrong hornet's nest. Tensions in the Red Sea were already running high. US Navy destroyers had been conducting non-stop intercept missions, and satellite surveillance had just picked up signs of another launch out of western Yemen near Al-Hudaydah. A swarm of drones, and at least one anti-ship missile was launched. The likely target? A commercial vessel flying a European flag. But thanks to bad intel, or just plain bad luck, the Houthis had locked onto a ghost on their radar. one that turned out to be a fully armed US Navy destroyer. Let's be clear, this wasn't some old rust bucket. This was an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, one of the most lethal platforms in the US Navy's arsenal. Sleek, silent, and built for absolute chaos if provoked. At first, everything seemed routine. The ship was on a standard escort mission. Nothing unusual until the electronic warfare team picked up strange radar echoes. Moments later, the Aegis Combat System automatically tagged multiple inbound threats. Then came the call. Vampires inbound, multiple bearings, 270. Vampires is Navy slang for incoming missiles. Alarms went off. Sailors raced to their battle stations. In an instant, the destroyer flipped from routine operations to full combat mode. And the Aegis system did exactly what it was designed to do: detect, track, and eliminate. Within seconds, it calculated the flight paths of incoming drones and missiles. SM-2 missiles launched from the vertical launch cells, streaking into the sky like thunderbolts. One drone exploded mid-air. Fragments rained harmlessly into the sea. Then another, and another, and another. But the threats kept coming. That's when the CIWS, Close-In Weapon System, kicked in. Mounted fore and aft, these fully automated Gatling guns spin at 4,500 rounds per minute. When they lock on, it sounds like a buzzsaw ripping through the sky. One final drone made a desperate dive. It never got close, shredded mid-plunge. In under 90 seconds, it was over. 0 hits, 0 damage, total dominance. The Houthis probably thought they were sending a message. Instead, they dumped their drones into a digital wood chipper and unknowingly gave the US Navy the green light to hit back. These kinds of attacks don't just test defense systems, they test resolve. And this time the answer came fast. A few hours later, pilots were suiting up. Flight decks were cleared. Retaliation wasn't just coming, it was already in motion. Back at CENTCOM, target packages were prepared, coordinates locked, pilots briefed. Within hours, jets launched from a nearby carrier strike group in the Arabian Sea. This wasn't a patrol, this was a precision strike. The mission: neutralize a known Houthi-controlled launch site near the port city of Hodeida, a hotspot for drone and missile attacks. The strike group included FA-18 Super Hornets, EA-18G, G Growlers for electronic warfare, MQ-9 Reapers for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Phase 1. Growlers moved in first, jamming radar and communication systems, cutting off early warnings. Phase 2. Precision-guided HARM missiles took out radar arrays and surface-to-air missile sites. Phase 3. The hammer drop. FA-18S flew in low, dropping GBU-38 JDAMS and laser-guided bombs on hardened targets, drone storage facilities, launch pads, and command bunkers. A secondary target, a radar tower suspected of coordinating Houthi missile launches, was also taken out. The night sky over Yemen lit up so bright it could be seen from fishing boats miles offshore. Reaper drones monitored the entire operation, feeding real-time footage back to command centers. Multiple secondary explosions confirmed it. They hit ammo. Hard. The Houthis had tried to hide their gear, but the intel was dead on. And this time, there wouldn't be another launch, at least not from that location. Even more impressive, not a single US aircraft was hit. The entire strike group was in and out before sunrise, and the message was clear. You don't get a free shot at the US Navy. This wasn't the first US strike in Yemen, and it won't be the last. But the precision, timing, and speed of this response sent a signal far beyond the Red Sea. From Tehran to Moscow to Beijing, everyone was watching. The US Navy doesn't like playing defense forever. Sooner or later, intercept turns into eliminate. If the Houthis thought they were safe behind Yemen's borders, They're probably sleeping a little lighter now. By sunrise, smoke still hung over Hodeida. But the real damage wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Their launch sites were gone. Their radar blind. Their message muted. What was meant to be a strike against Western influence became a brutal reminder. The US Navy doesn't just patrol the Red Sea, it owns it. So now we ask, are these precise retaliations enough to stop future attacks? Or is it time to hit back harder? Because the Red Sea isn't just a hotspot for drones and missiles, it's a proving ground for political will and military strength. And America's enemies are watching. China is watching, Iran is watching, Russia is watching. They're all waiting to see how far the US will go. Right now, the message is simple. If you target a US warship, you better pray you miss. Because if you don't, what comes next is something you can't shoot down. This was never just about a drone, a missile, or one destroyer. It was about what happens when you underestimate the US Navy the Houthis fired, and missed. In return, they didn't just lose a battle. They lost an entire chapter of their launch capability. That's not just retaliation. That's a message carved into concrete. From the second they locked onto the wrong radar signature, the countdown to impact wasn't theirs, it was America's. In under 90 seconds, they saw how one destroyer could wipe a coordinated attack out of the sky, and in under 24 hours, they saw how precision air power could dismantle their war machine before breakfast. This isn't over. It never really is. The Red Sea will stay dangerous. The drones will fly again. But now the rules have changed. Every launch now carries a price. Every radar ping risks leading back to a bunker that won't be there the next day. And for the US Navy, one thing is certain. Next time, they won't wait to be targeted. So here's the lesson. You can bluff, you can posture, but if you hit the wrong ship, one built for war, with eyes on every horizon and weapons that don't miss, you better be ready for what comes next. Because what comes next isn't a warning, it's fire. So what now? The Red Sea remains on edge, a tense stage where even a single drone can spark a global ripple effect. Commercial shipping routes that once carried oil, food, and goods with minimal concern are now flanked by guided missile destroyers, electronic warfare teams, and 24/7 surveillance. It's not just a regional conflict anymore. It's a high-stakes chessboard. And while the Houthis may regroup, rebuild, or attempt another strike, they now do so knowing one hard truth. Every launch puts them in America's sights. They learned, the hard way, that US warships aren't just there to observe, they're there to win. And the rest of the world is watching with careful eyes. Allies see reassurance in America's precision, speed, and commitment to keeping critical waterways secure. But adversaries? They're recalculating. Because this wasn't just a flex of military power, it was a demonstration of resolve. The kind of resolve that says, if you challenge us, we won't hesitate. So as long as the threat remains, US ships will keep patrolling. Eyes on every horizon, systems hot, crews trained and ready, not for defense, but for deterrence through strength. Because in today's world, the next war might not begin with a formal declaration. It might start with a drone that picks the wrong blip on a radar screen. And when that happens, the US Navy will be ready. If you made it this far, here's our final question to you. If you were in command of that destroyer, would you have pulled the trigger sooner, gone bigger, or shown restraint? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every one. And if this story hit home, if it gave you chills, opened your eyes, or made you rethink how close we really are to the edge, go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for sticking with us. Stay sharp, stay safe, and as always, respect the sea, respect the steel. See you in the next one.